I call the March 18, 2019 meeting of the Gardner City Council to order. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilor Boone?
Present.
Councilor Boudreaux?
Present.
Councilor Craig Cormier? Councilor Ronald Cormier?
Present.
Councilor Gravel?
Present.
Councilor Hardern?
Present.
Councilor Christine Johnson?
Present.
Councilor James Johnson?
Present.
Councilor Kaczynskis?
Present.
Councilor Walsh?
Present.
President Graves.
President, please rise for the opening prayer to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Almighty God, we thank Thee for bringing us together this evening. Inspire us to worthy deeds and sound decisions, and direct us toward the attainment of good city government. We pray Thee to bless and protect all the people of our city, and to so guide and inspire us that we may deliberate in unity and harmony. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anybody who's recording tonight's meeting? Would there be any show of hands or other indications? So nobody is. The first item is reading of minutes of prior meetings. Reading and approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 4th, 2019.
Mr. President,
Council Coleman.
I make a motion that we waive the reading of the minutes and have them accepted as printed.
Second motion.
Motion made by Councilor Cormier, seconded by Councilor Walsh, to waive the reading of the minutes and to accept them as provided to us in the packet. Is there any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearings, number 10062. A hearing on a petition by National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated for permission to install one J-O pole on West Street beginning at a point approximately 100 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Bridge Street. This public hearing is going to be reopened. We continued it last meeting because I think we were waiting for, was it National Grid that wasn't here? So I'm going to reopen that meeting. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the petition for the pole? Yes, sir. Please rise and state your name, please.
Yeah, Mark Tapley, I'm from National Grid.
Okay.
So the pole is being placed in to allow for services to go up to a new solar field that is going in up there.
The what?
It looks like it's going in for a new solar field that is going up
Okay,
there.
that's right.
That's what it's for.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else in attendance tonight who wishes to speak in favor of the petition for the poll? Is there anybody else in attendance wishing to speak in favor of the poll? Now I'm going to change it around. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak against the petition for the poll? Is there anybody here wishing to speak in opposition, I should have said, to the poll? And I'll ask one more time, is there anyone here in attendance wishing to oppose the petition for the poll? I see nobody, so we'll close that public hearing. That item will come up later if you wanted to stay around. I don't think you necessarily have to. Would the chairman need them? You can leave, sir, if you wish.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Number 10070, a hearing on an application by Osagie Enterprises, LLC, for a license to deal in motor vehicle junk class 3 on Toby Street. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, it's a public hearing. Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing on that application by Osagie Enterprises LLC for a license to deal in motor vehicle junk class 3 on Toby Street. I'm just going to read the notice to the abutters. Pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 140, Sections 58, 59, and Chapter 606 of the Code of the City of Gardner, notice is hereby given that the City Council will conduct a public hearing on Monday, March 18, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. in the City Council Chamber, Room 219, City Hall, 95 Pleasant Street, Gardner, Massachusetts, on application by Osagie Enterprises, LLC, for a license to deal in motor vehicle junk Class 3 at 0 and 43 Toby Street. Persons interested in this matter are encouraged to attend and offer testimony. So similarly with the prior public hearing, I'm going to ask if there's anybody in attendance tonight who wishes to speak in favor of the application for a Class 3 motor vehicle junk license. Is there anybody here?
I would.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Please rise, state your name, please.
My name is Mike Graham.
And your
I'm the current president of LaJoy's Used Auto Parts and the holder of the current Class 3 license on the property.
Okay, and what's your address, sir? We have to put it for the minute.
Home address or business address?
You can use your business address.
Okay, the business is actually 27 Rear Hill Street here in Gardner, which is also Toby Street, depending on how you look at it.
Okay, so now we have a new application for that property, and you're here to speak in favor of that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what would you like to say, sir?
Well, at approximately less than a year ago, I came in front of the safety committee as an informal meeting, mentioned at that time that I was interested in purchasing the property, and we were going to go forward with that. Unfortunately, due to financial constraints and other things, I was unable to follow through on the deal. So at which time John LaJoy, the owner of the property, I told him to please feel free to advertise and sell it to someone else. And here we are now. The people coming in have been very good working with me. They have granted me a 1-year lease to continue on so that I may close down my business and sort everything all out. And I'm going in a different direction. So I'm not opposed to them, applying for a license for the property, which I currently hold one.
Okay.
I don't know if there are any other questions or...
You can say anything you want at this point. This is your time to speak in favor.
That's just pretty much I'm in favor of, granting them whatever they need as far as applying for and going forward with it. And I'm content to let my license, terminate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak in favor of the application, the new application for the Class 3 motor vehicle junk license? Anybody else here to speak in favor of the new motor vehicle Class 3 junk license? All right, so is there anybody here that wishes to speak in opposition of this application by Osagie Enterprises LLC for the motor vehicle Class 3? Yes, sir, just please rise, state your name and address, please.
My name is Joshua Hall, 61 Hill Street, Gardner, Mass. I could have risen in either because I'm not really opposed.
That's fine.
I'm just kind of raising concerns of the way the junkyard's operating now. It's not super active, and I looked at the blueprint, I guess, of where that property extends to. Right now, at the end of our yard, it's about probably 50 to 100 feet diagonally away, and where the property borders could go all the way till halfway up our backyard. And I'm assuming that a junkyard that's fully active is also going to be pretty loud most of the time, you know what I mean? So just kind of the concerns about traffic and noise, hours of operation, how far it's going to be extended, because all that stuff affects living there and also property value and things like that. So it's not really opposed, just those are my concerns.
That's understood. The item's going to come up later for more discussion. This is basically the purpose of this is just to get the public to speak either for or against it. So unless you have anything else to add, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here to speak in opposition of the, yes ma'am, in opposition of the application for the new license?
I'm Deborah Engel, Joshua's mom. We're not for or against per se, like he said.
I'm sorry, is it the same address? I hate to
Yep,
interrupt
61
you.
Hill Street.
Okay,
Yep, we have 5 babies, and they range in age from 2 to 16. So we just want to make sure there's not a lot of noise, late night hours, trucks going up and down. Right now, Mike is awesome. He's been a great person, never bothered us at all. The trucks don't come past our house. We just want to make sure there's no danger to the children and not a lot of excessive noise because they're very sensitive. They've had issues from their mom. So we just want to make sure my brother owns the house. Another concern was he didn't want the property value to go down. Mike isn't doing an active junkyard, so that makes a big difference. So those are our concerns. We're not against any person. We just want to make sure our neighborhood's safe for the kids.
okay. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak in opposition of this this motor vehicle Class 3 junk license? All right, so I'll close that hearing. And we'll move on to our next item on the agenda. Communications from the mayor, appointments. Number 10071, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Paulette Burns to member Board of Assessors for a term expiring February 26, 2022. Report from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee is favorable. This is a reappointment of an individual that has served in this position for many years, and we feel that eminently qualified. So therefore, I make a motion that we confirm the mayor's appointment.
Second motion.
Motion made by Councilor Cormier, seconded by Councilor Walsh to confirm the mayor's appointment of Paulette Burns to member Board of Assessors for a term expiring February 26, 2022. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item is 10072, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Luce Robichaud to member Cemetery Commission for a term expiring March 4th, 2022. 2022. Report from the Finance Committee.
Report from the Finance Committee on this and the next one, 10073, involving the same individual being appointed to the Municipal Grounds Commission, is favorable. This is a reappointment to both positions, and the Finance Committee is favorable on both, and I move confirmation of the appointment.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, seconded by Councilor Cormier to confirm the mayor's appointment of Luce Robichaud to member Cemetery Commission for a term expiring March 4th, 2022. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Number 10073, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Luce Robichaud to member Municipal Grounds Commission for a term expiring March 4th, 2022. And I believe I heard a motion from Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Seconded by Councilor-
Move confirmation of the appointment.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, seconded by Councilor Cormier. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Nobody is here, so we don't have to take a recess to swear anybody in. Next item on the agenda, 10062, a petition by National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated for permission to install one JO pole on West Street beginning at a point approximately 100 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Bridge Street. Report from the Public Service Committee. Councilor Boudreau.
So we met last Tuesday and motion to move this forward favorably.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Boudreau, seconded by Councilor Boone to approve the petition of National Grid and Verizon New England for the poll as stated in item number 10062. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10069, an application by Osagie Enterprise LLC for a license to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles Class 2 on Toby Street. Report from the Public Safety Committee, Councilor Johnson.
Safety Committee met on this earlier. We need to come up with a little bit more information from the building inspector and the city clerk, so I request more time.
Unless there's opposition, we'll grant the Safety Committee more time on that matter.
I have a point of inquiry through the chair to the chairman of the service committee. Can you have two licenses on the same property?
You cannot have two active licenses, so once one became active, the other one would be rescinded.
Thank you.
So we'll grant the Safety Committee more time on that item. Next item is 10070, an application by Osagie Enterprises LLC for a license to deal in motor vehicle junk, Class 3 on Toby Street. Report from the Safety Committee, Councilor Johnson.
And for the same reasons, request more time.
We'll grant the, unless there's an objection, we'll grant the Safety Committee more time on that application, on that item number 10070. Next item is 10053, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Gardner, Chapter 312 thereof, entitled Animals, by deleting and repealing Section 312-2F. I believe this is with the, is it with the Safety Committee and the Service Committee?
Yes, it's a joint meeting.
Either chairman may speak. Councilor Boudreau.
Thank you. So, like I said, we met last Tuesday and we motioned to move this forward favorably in hopes that the council would have a discussion and amend here on the floor.
Your motion to, so your motion is to adopt the ordinance and send it to first printing?
Yes, sir.
And that, so the motion's made, seconded? Motion made by Councilor Boudreau, seconded by Councilor Gravel to approve the ordinance to amend the code of the city of Gardner, chapter 312 thereof, entitled Animals, by deleting and repealing section 312-2F, and send it to first printing. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Johnson.
Make a motion to amend the amendment, I guess, that we retain line F in that ordinance, except it be changed to no animals are allowed in any city cemetery or playground except in designated areas of Pulaski Park.
Second.
Just writing that down.
They're dogs outside.
Okay, so, there's a motion to amend made by Councilor Johnson, seconded by Councilor Boudreau. And the amendment is going to, delete the last part of the language so that the end of that will say, excepting designated areas of Pulaski Park. Correct? And just for a point of order, we didn't have an amended version that you amended, correct? It wasn't amended in the first place, Councilor Walsh?
I think this is an ordinance amendment, an ordinance amending the ordinance, so
Okay,
that's what he was talking
okay,
about.
I understand, okay. So that's the,
Yes.
so this is the vote to, so this vote is going to be a motion to amend, as I stated. Any discussion, Councilor Walsh?
I have a question about what the purpose of this ordinance is in whatever form it might end up. I understand that it was submitted by the mayor, if I'm not mistaken. There wasn't any explanation that came with it that explained why it was being submitted or what ill it was designed to cure or what objective it was designed to meet. So I'm curious to know why it's here.
Councilor Boudreau, can you answer that?
From what I've seen, and Councilor Johnson may be a better person to explain this because he brought it to my attention. I was unaware that the ordinance actually came from the mayor until a couple weeks back. I thought this was brought up by the councilor. But the dogs are banned from all of the parks, yet there's signs up that tell you to leash your dog and clean after your dog that aren't supposed to be there anyway. So I guess it's just a confusing thing.
Well, are we guessing, excuse me.
Yes,
Are
Councilor
we
Walsh.
guessing at what the mayor's purpose is, or are we?
I don't know what the
Do
mayor.
we have anything from the mayor indicating why he submitted it?
Councilor Johnson?
Well, I was going to say, the main reason right now is currently, as written, no animals are allowed in city cemetery or playgrounds, including Pulaski Park, so they wouldn't be allowed in the new dog park. So by amending it the way we did, they would now be allowed in the dog park, but not in the playgrounds.
Councilor Boone?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a question, maybe, Mr. President, you can answer it, or others. Is there an exception for service dogs to go to cemeteries, or is that automatic, or is?
Yes.
Bring them anywhere.
Anybody feel free to raise your hand after I can add just a little bit to that. If there's a state law, the state law controls with respect to, or a federal law in that, for that matter. If there's a federal or state law saying that somebody can go somewhere with a service dog, he or she can go there.
ADA, Mr. President.
So that no city or town or any kind of municipality of any sort can overrule a federal or state law. Councilor Gravel?
I believe that's part of the ADA mandate by federal government, that service dogs are allowed in public places.
Thank you, Councilor. So we're going to take a vote on the motion to amend, unless there's further discussion. All in favor of the motion to amend? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So now the amendment is on the floor. So the language is now going to read exactly as it was, except with the addition of, except in designated areas of Pulaski Park at the end of the proposed language. Councilor Walsh.
On the motion as amended, I guess and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it's been customary when the mayor is a proponent of some initiative that is presented to the council for a vote, that he provides some explanation about why it is that he's presenting it. And I appreciate the response that I've received from the committee chairs about it, but I'm concerned that as I understood it, there were some provisions in other ordinances that gave the Public Works Director authority to promulgate regulations about when and where dogs can be seen or be present in our city parks, which would be contrary to the provisions of this ordinance. And so I assumed at some point we'd get some clarification from the mayor about how those, what the interplay is among those, if they even exist. So absent some greater clarification on those topics and why it is that we haven't received something from the mayor in a more formal manner, I'm going to vote against it.
Okay, thank you, Council. I just want to add, thank you. Just want to add for clarification that there is a letter on this subject from the mayor dated January 28th, 2019. We've all seen this. And I don't know if this will answer your question or make it any better or worse. RE Dog Control. Dear President Graves and Councilors, Chapter 312 of the City Code is relative to dog control. 312-2 contains a city's leash law provisions, and 312-2E contains the city's pooper scooper provisions. I never thought I'd be sitting at the president's desk saying pooper scooper. An issue, continuing with the mayor's letter, an issue arises with 312-2F, which states, quote, "No animals are allowed in any city cemetery or playground, including Pulaski Park," close quote. I am not aware of the genesis of this ordinance, but it does pose a problem as Pulaski Park is the new home of the city's dog park. I have attached an ordinance for your consideration to remedy the matter. So I'm just thinking maybe the mayor thought it was a more or less a simple issue.
It does. Well, thank you, Mr. President. I don't recall receiving that correspondence, but it does provide some clarity.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there any, Councilor Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have concerns about it just being at Pulaski Park, because you have a lot of people at South Gardner who are close to Bickford Playground. You have people that are close to the Up Down All Around Playground that bring their animals there. And I think that we're going to have a situation where we're going to have an overcrowding of animals. And some animals don't get along with other animals, and that's why some people choose to take their family, their four-legged family, to playgrounds that aren't so crowded, where they can go and, you know, play with their dogs. And I think most of the people are pretty responsible with picking up after their animals. And though I understand that that there's going to be a dog park in one of the playgrounds, and I believe it might be Pulaski Playground, I can't remember. So Pulaski Playground. I think that if we just have it at Pulaski Playground, we're going to see problems. We're going to see a huge amount of problems. And if you go down to Bickford Playground, there are signs down at Bickford Playground that say, "Please pick up after your dog," on one pole, and on another pole it says "No dogs allowed." But yet there are people that do bring their dogs down there. You don't see a lot of them, but it's something, these older dogs don't want to be around the younger dogs. So I think that we need to kind of I'm not for the change in the ordinance at this point, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Gravel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Johnson bringing up a great point about people bringing their animals to other parks besides Pulaski Park. I happened to get a constituent call via Facebook about another concerning issue at Greenwood Playground, and upon going to Greenwood Playground, I ran into a bunch of piles from people's dogs. That's a serious health concern to me. People need to be responsible and pick up after their animals. As Councilor Johnson said, one said no dogs allowed, and one says please pick up after your dog. I think that that's kind of contradictory to itself, but I think just having it at Pulaski, it may or it may not be overcrowded at some point. I'm not sure. But the biggest problem I have with this ordinance right now is that it's who's policing the owners and the pets going forward. You know, there's ordinances in Cambridge and Boston that, you know, if you'll get a $100 fine, I believe it is, if you don't pick up after your dog in those towns. So we need to take a better look at this, I think. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Walsh.
Yeah, if I may, for an additional time, Mr. President, I think we need to be aware that if we don't pass this ordinance, we have a very large dog park in which we have invested substantial sums for its construction. It's ready, just about ready to go.
It's been made, it's been constructed. There's a few things that need to be completed before it's opened up, is to dry out, obviously, but there are a few additional items to be completed, and they're looking at the end of April or early May for an opening. So if we don't pass an ordinance that permits dogs at Pulaski Park, we're going to be in a situation where we can't open it. So I think people should be aware of that.
Thank you, Councilor. Keep that thought, Councilor Kazinskas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I mean, just to bring up the other side of what Councilor Gravel and Councilor Johnson said, there are people who don't want to bring their children places where there's dogs. So, you know, there's another issue too, where at least if they know they're designated at this one space that we have invested money in, and that we are designating as a dog park that has, you know, plenty of space for it, to me, it's like at least they know that the dogs are allowed there and they're not allowed at these other places, and we have more children than dogs in the city. So I'm going to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Cormier.
I'm definitely going to support it because it's two separate issues. First of all, as Councilor Walsh pointed out, we've got a large investment. Rather foolish to see it sit there without the ability of it being used. In reality, that's the way our ordinance now reads. The other issues that have been brought up are valid issues and should be and probably will be addressed separately, and at least we can allow this to move on. So for that reason, I'm certainly going to support this evening.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Gravel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to clarify that I'm not voting against this. I'm in favor of this ordinance. I'm not against this. I'm concerned about the health concerns that other councilors have brought up here, along with myself. And I should have mentioned children, but I didn't. You know, because they do play in our playgrounds. I'm not against having a dog park, and the councilors are correct. There's been a lot of money invested in this, and I think it's going to be great for that area because there are a lot of dogs that live on, a lot of families that own dogs that live on Baker and Greenwood and that whole little area. But again, I'm not against this ordinance moving forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Boone had his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been to California and Florida and seen these dog parks. It's just amazing. You know, I no longer own a dog. I had one as a kid, grew up. But all these dogs getting along, I can't fathom. I said, how can all these dogs get along? But it's amazing. They're all running around, having a ball and having fun. So I think this is a great thing that we're doing for our city because I've seen it elsewhere, and to me, it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Boudreau.
As a proud fur father and a hopefully one day real father, I'd like to think that our dogs and our children can get along peacefully in the same community. And like you see it all over the place, as common sense applies. Like common sense must apply. Keep your dog on a leash. Pick up after your dog. We don't need to make sure that like these are the children parks and these are the dog parks because kids have dogs too. So I'm in support of this.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the second time. And my only concern about this is that it's only designated for Pulaski Playground when we have other areas in the city that people like to take their older dogs because they're not running around and jumping around with other dogs. And sometimes those kids are with those families in the playground. You're right. So that's my only concern. But with what Councilor Cormier said, we could revisit maybe opening it up to other playgrounds, maybe a designated area within those playgrounds that the dogs can go. I just think that it's something that we should keep an open mind about. So with that, I will vote for this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Boone.
Last time, just another point that I was thinking of with cemeteries and, you know, are service dogs allowed, and it was said yes. I'm wondering if even our, and I know people aren't always responsible, but whether or not our rule against cemeteries is outdated. You know, a loved one passes away and a dog owner and their relatives want to bring that dog to the cemetery for whatever reason, and it seems to me that there's a lot of responsible people that just want to be able to bring them to the cemetery to visit their loved one that's passed away. It's just just throwing that out there as a future or something that we might consider. Thank you, Mr. President.
We'll look forward to that sponsored ordinance change coming up. Any further discussion on the item? There being none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Where am I? 10008, a measure authorizing acceptance of donations and gifts for use by the Community Bandstand Committee for musical concerts and other entertainment events. Where is this now? Finance Committee?
Mr. President, may I suggest that we take this out of order after we act on 10007, having to do with the ordinance amendment that went to first printing not the last time,
Yes,
but
let's
on
do-
a prior occasion.
Let's do that. We'll come back to 10008. We'll take up at this point 10007, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Gardner, Chapter 156 thereof, entitled Municipal Grounds Commission, to add provisions relating to a community bandstand committee that went to first printing.
Move it to a second printing, Mr. President. And pass.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, seconded by Councilor Cormier, to send the ordinance to second printing, second and final printing and adoption. Councilor Gravel.
Mr. President, I just respectfully recuse myself from this vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Unless there's an objection, you'll be recused. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? And Councilor Gravel abstains. So we'll go back to one, and the motion carries. Number one, we'll go back to 10008. A measure authorizing acceptance of donations and gifts for use by the Community Bandstand Committee for musical concerts and other entertainment events. Councilor Walsh.
Yes, the Finance Committee was favorable on this, and we wanted to act on it. It was contingent upon passage of the ordinance amendment. But this will ensure that the city has an account for the deposit of donations and gifts to the bandstand and other committees. I know there was a concern on one of the councilors' behalfs that any gift designated for use by the bandstand committee restricted to that would be restricted by this acceptance and the statute, the applicable statute. We checked with the city auditor about it when he was here on a prior occasion, that if there's a restriction on the gift when it's made, then its use is restricted in its use. So council the Finance Committee is favorable on this, and I move the measure, I move the authorization and acceptance.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, seconded by Councilor Cormier to authorize the measure of acceptance of donations and gifts for use by the Community Bandstand Committee for musical concerts and other entertainment events, and that's number 10008. Any further discussion on the motion, Councilor Gravel?
Yes, Mr. President, again, I respectfully recuse myself from this vote.
Yes, sir. Unless there's an objection, Councilor Gravel will abstain. Any further discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Gravel abstains. Last item, number 10068, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Gardner, Chapter 600 thereof, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, to change provisions relating to rotary traffic, traffic islands, and obedience to isolated yield signs. Councilor Johnson.
The second and final printing?
Motion made by Councilor Johnson, seconded by Councilor Howard, to send number 10068 to its second and final printing and passage. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to go into new business.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Christine Johnson, seconded by Councilor Boudreaux. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilor Boone.
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Boudreaux.
Many great events happen in our community all the time. Yesterday, I was lucky enough to attend two. A young man, I believe he's the city, the school committee student representative, Cameron Davis, became an Eagle Scout. So that was a joy to attend. His mother put in a lot of work on that. And directly after that, I went down to the Help Us Help You fundraiser by the Gardner Fire Department. It was a packed house at the Ale House. Councilor Kaczynskis did a good job hosting that with them. It was a great time. Councilor Walsh was there as well. Yeah, so good job to the Gardner firefighters and everyone involved in that event. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Johnson.
No new business this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Kozinskis.
I have no new business. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Gravel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to give out my sincere thanks to this council for passing the city ordinance for the Gardner Bandstand Committee. I know the council president and the council clerk put a lot of effort into it. I also want to thank the finance committee for all their efforts in getting this passed. I think we're going to have a great year. The shows are pretty much all booked, so we'll be looking forward to spring on Wednesday. I'm sure all my seniors have their tulips coming up already in their yard. It's going to be a great year. Enjoy the warm weather coming up. It's going to be 50 on Wednesday. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Johnson.
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hardern.
Nothing this week, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Walsh.
I received and read with great interest the report on the state of the city streets that we received from our Public Works Director. Once again, it's a difficult situation that we all face when we have a winter as we've had that is warm and then cold and then freezing, but then warms up again. It wreaks havoc with the pavement of our streets, creating potholes, which I know our DPW diligently seeks to fill, but that's only a patchwork solution. And the condition of many of our streets is deplorable. And the need for paving those streets is significant. I'm hopeful as we look ahead to the budget year for 2020 that the mayor will see fit to include in the budget substantial sums for city paving to supplement the money that we get from the state for that purpose, because there is a dire need, and city streets serve everybody in the community. Everybody uses the streets. We need to maintain them as we look at the maintenance of all of our infrastructure projects. City streets are used every day by just about everybody that lives here, everybody that passes through, everybody that does business here. I think it's a very important priority that we invest in the repaving projects that we so desperately need. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Cormier.
And this year's the 39th annual year that the civics program is run at Holy Family Academy, the Ulysses J. Cormier government program. And one of the things, the youngsters were in here this morning and used our chambers to have their mock council meeting. One of the things they brought up and discussed was potholes. But they also brought up the same issue, how are we going to fund it? That being said, tomorrow those same youngsters will be going to the courthouse, courtesy of Judge Haley. On Wednesday, if any of the councilors are available to attend the assembly at Holy Family at Annunciation Parish, Holy Rosary Church Hall, you're welcome to come. And on Thursday, the kids will be going to various departments. I can't speak highly enough of the department heads we have in this city that make this whole program possible. Neat to see that the state is bringing civics back as a requirement. We just never left it. And it's kind of fun to work with the kids. And with that, I'd invite all of you and come and enjoy the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I just want to remind everybody that the Tri-City Council dinner is Wednesday, April 10th at 6 p.m. at Christina's in Leominster, and Mr. Clerk would appreciate it if anybody who's going, hopefully all of us can make it, just give him a heads up so he can let them know. It's Leominster's turn, obviously, since it's at Christina's, so they need to know how many of us are going to show up. So that's Wednesday, April 10th at 6 p.m. I just wanted to comment briefly on the mayor's State of the City address. I like to look at it as our accomplishments, the city council's accomplishment as well. And when I'm reading it, it's optimistic, and it can't be done without the city council. So the mayor's accomplishments, the city's accomplishments, is the city council's accomplishments, and it's the people's accomplishments. And I hope everybody got a chance to look at it, and I hope the citizens out there will look at it. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on the city's website, and it's nice. I mean, we accomplished a lot in 1 year, working together. There was some disagreements, as we always will have, as we should have in a democracy, but we got a lot accomplished, and I think we did it efficiently. I just wanted to touch base on a little of it, and the mayor at one point said, keeping with the grant theme, and I would call it the grant theme, which means we look at things like money from heaven sometimes. When we have money for the school, for instance, 80% of the new school, if we build one, hopefully we will, is paid by grants. This is paid by a grant. Grant here, there, and everywhere. Where do you think the grants come from? The grants come from the taxpayers. Everything that's done in the city is done by taxpayers. Local taxpayers and national taxpayers. That means that's the way this country works. And the only other way it works is if you have a mayor and a city council that works together. So he mentions, well, the accomplishments, and we can't mention everything, and he didn't, but we got grant for a new electrical vehicle and charging station. We got grants for the Amelia property, so we could increase our park system here in Gardner, which is great. If you ever walk the trail across Pearly Brook, and there's other trails and the bike paths, I mean, we really get a great trail system here. Grants, Amelia property. Dispatch, grants, $300,000 to cover this cost. And every time I say grant, it also required a city council vote. The 3 pilots we approved, that's taxpayer money. Payments in lieu of taxes. Whose taxes? The taxpayers' taxes. So these companies don't have to pay taxes. We voted for that. The fire engine, 90% grant. Derby Drive, totally grant funded. The city's summer recreational program. These are all great accomplishments. CDBG grants. The parking ban, no grants, no money. I think it's working great, the parking ban, but maybe the police department thinks differently, or maybe the chairman or the public safety members have different views on that, but I think that's working pretty well. The Rockwell Education Gift Fund, $50,000, taxpayers. That's taxpayers' property, taxpayers' money. Watkins Field, great improvements, taxpayers. Thank you, taxpayers. City can't do it without the city council. Even with the school shortfall, we came up with the money. We had money in stabilization account. Credit to the mayor, credit to the city council. We got it done. It wasn't easy. We're going to have other school issues coming up and challenges. And I like what the mayor said about the new school that I think we all agree that we need, the new elementary school. We just got to figure out how we're going to do it, where we're going to do it. He says this: it's not how big or small the school should be. The largest question is how we will pay our share of the cost. 100% on board with that. I couldn't have said it better. So anyways, and on that subject, 80% is paid by the taxpayers somewhere with a grant. So thank you, taxpayers. Thank you, city council members. Thank you, mayor. And without further ado, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Councilor Gravel, seconded by Councilor Buccio. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Closing prayer. Almighty Father, who sees over all, as we adjourn, we thank you for the opportunity to join in and action witnessed during the course of this meeting. Bless the Lord and all who are gathered here, and the people whose representatives we are, and to our attendance our common welfare. Until our next meeting, amen.